Okay, so I wanted to make a quick video on destructive knife testing. You know, stuff like Joe X does, and you guys have seen me do some videos, and other people have had videos doing knife testing and destructive testing. And one thing I wanted to talk about was the intent, or kind of how you're trying to kind of frame something when you are doing some type of destructive testing. So I think when it all comes down to it, if you have some type of bad intent when you were doing this type of testing, you know, I think that's kind of shows the quality, or I don't know, I'm trying to find the right words for this. But if you have some type of malice when you are doing some type of testing and your goal is to break something, then that's going to skew your results. And you know, you could have some type of other ambitions besides just doing good testing. Now, some people got mad when I did testing on my knife, and I did stuff that I wouldn't normally do, you know, stabbing it through tailgates, cutting other knives in half, stuff like that. Now, some of that is some kind of like advertising. It's like, hey, look, this does some, you know, it is capable of doing some cool stuff. And, you know, some of it's for assurance. You know, you buy a knife, you spend, you know, $250 on it. Hey, your knife is going to be able to do some stuff and not break. You know, it's tough, it's durable, it will stay sharp, it's not going to break on you. You know, just so, you know, not because you want people to do that with the knife they buy, but just so you can kind of show them like, hey, look, if you buy this knife, you know, you can use it, it's not going to break. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to mess anything up. Now, you guys have probably seen a video about the calculated survival Norse hatchet. The guy broke it. It wasn't like a whole review. It was a short clip, and it was really, you know, making the product look bad. And there wasn't a lot of information in the video. It just shows the guy throwing it and says, hey, this hatchet cost me $600 an hour or something to throw. Now, as a reviewer, that's one reason why you have to be careful who you are going to for content. I mean, as a reviewer, you have people offering you free stuff, sometimes money, codes, so you can make money off of your video. And people really need to disclose that type of stuff, you know, when they're making videos and when they are showcasing products. Now, so Jacob just did a video tonight where he got a Chinese fake Boosie and kind of put it head to head like I did with these knives. And the real Boosie had a catastrophic failure and it broke in half. Now, you know, that test doesn't necessarily mean that the Chusi is a better knife than the Boosie. It just means in that test, the Chinese one did better in that versus test. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a better knife, a sharper knife, more reliable knife, but in that instance, it did break. Now, Jacob didn't have any malice or like ill intent when he did that video. You know, we're all actually rooting for, you know, the for the American-made knife that's not a copy. You know, we aren't rooting for the Chinese copy that they're stealing people's intellectual property with. So, you know, when you're looking at these videos, when you're watching testing videos, and you're looking at content, and also if you're creating content, you really do have a responsibility to make sure you're doing fair testing, honest testing, and you don't have some angle to grind at a certain product. You know, Joe X does his videos. Not all the tests are, you know, all the testing is the same. like there's not the same like protocol for every knife. You know, some knife might get a different stump, you know, have a different baton or a different part of the car. So it's you lose a little bit of the scientific, you know, like the data becomes a little bit kind of corrupted when you're not being consistent and not doing the same test on every knife. So that's just one thing that I really wanted to get out there when it comes to this abusive testing. And, you know, if your goal is just to go buy somebody's product and go out and make a clickbait video of it failing, because, you know, negativity sells, you know, people like seeing things fail. And for a lot of times that does get more views than a positive review. If you're doing that sort of thing, then that is unethical and it's wrong. So, you know, you just have to look to people that you trust when it comes to this hard use testing. And, you know, I think hard use testing, that information is valuable, but I don't know if it is always pertinent to the item. Like if it's actually really means a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. I mean, comparably, and when you're comparing heat treats and steels and different things like that, yeah, I think, you know, there's a lot to be gained from that type of data. But, you know, like I said before, if you're testing a knife, you know, a 10-inch knife that's wide with a thick stock, it's going to do better than a knife that's 3 times the length. You know, if you're hitting a piece of concrete, a longer knife is going to be able to generate way more force than a knife that's half its size. So, you know, that test is not really a fair test to both those products. Now, like I said, the only thing that really makes everything unethical is if you have some type of ill intent where you're trying to ruin somebody. And in some cases, when you do that for clicks and views, you actually do cause actual real harm to people. Some of these companies and products, people have put thousands of dollars into, hours and hours of labor, investing, time, work, sweat. So when you look at some of these products, you know, people really do have a lot of work into some of these things. So if you are going to go out and intentionally break it for clicks and views, that is wrong. But I think a good hard use testing of a product and multiple products done, you know, in the same way, where you can actually have, like, you know, measurable, you know, data that's valuable. Yeah, I think that is also valuable to customers, and it's a good thing for people to be able to like reference. So, like the Choosy video, that's, you know, Jacob's going to drop tonight. You know, nobody wanted to see that fail. And does it mean a whole lot that the Choosy won? You know, probably not. But in some cases, you know, it's obvious that people are just trying to cause harm to a company or a person, or they are just trying to, you know, get clicks and views, whether that be for, you know, hey, look at me, or they're making money from clicks and views. You know, what's their angle? What do they have to gain from that? So, yeah, just when you're looking at hard use testing and things are breaking, just keep that in mind. You know, does the person, do they have any type of ill intent? Are they trying to break things intentionally to smear a company, make a company look bad or lose face? Or are they actually doing, you know, quality testing that has valuable results, that's valuable for consumers? So, yeah, that's long-winded. And I don't know if you get much out of that. But like I said, you know, when I do some hard use testing, it's just so you guys can get an idea of what the knife is capable of, give you some, you know, warm fuzzies about your product you bought. Not that I intend for you to do that on your own product. So you guys have a good night. Have a good 4th of July. And yeah, if you do see people that are out there just breaking people's stuff and trying to tear people down for no reason, for nothing other than, you know, their own gain, call them out. They might delete your comment if they don't, you know, if they're not trying to hear it. But, you know, probably need to hear it. All right, y'all have a good night. And I'm sorry, Jerry Boosie, for that Chusey thing that happened tonight. And for Joe X, I still love Joe X. I still like watching him. But, you know, all of his tests are not done systematically or done scientifically, but they're tests. And he buys the stuff, and they're entertaining. I like them for the entertainment, and there is some good information to be gained. But as long as you aren't just trashing somebody's stuff, you know, with ill intent, you know, there's no harm in that. So just be able to see things for what they are, and that's it. Well over the couple-minute video I wanted to make. But that's it. Later.